Should you buy a stock even when it's up? And this is a big question I've been having from a lot of different people because we're looking at something like AMD. And I have my chart up right here where on March 18th, day before my birthday, I purchased AMD for $103.22. Okay, March 18th of 2025. I was looking at different factors that I use to sort of determine, okay, what is going to be a undervalued stock, and if it's an undervalued stock, I want to purchase it and I want to get into it. Same thing, March 18th, purchased SoFi, $11.93. Okay, I was making some different purchases on those specific dates. And so I'm thinking through this lens of where are we at right now? Okay, because I want to go through a couple different factors. That was March 18th. Because as you got through April, remember, between the middle to end of March and then to the beginning of May, it was mayhem, even probably longer than that. So as you're looking at these things and as you're thinking through all this, you have to start to think about now, looking at even March 24th, I bought Nike, 68.56. Okay, 68.56. And right now, Nike's worth 79.24. So should I not buy Nike? Should I not buy it because it's expensive, right? And so as I'm looking through all this, I'm looking at some of the purchases that I made with AMD. $113 on March 25th, so a little bit more expensive. Then I'm looking at, let's say, again, I'm going through April 1st, okay? Now, AMD is currently at $180. $180. On April 1st, I purchased AMD for $102. And I remember buying it. I bought it at 113 and it went back down. And you have this initial thought or initial feeling where you're like, oh man, I should have bought that at 113. You just have like this little dumb monkey in the back of your head that you're like, well, I should have bought it at 113. And then I bought it at $96 on April 3rd. Okay, so on April 3rd, I bought it at $96. So I'm still thinking, oh my gosh, I bought it at 113. What am I doing? Now, I wanted to share this because I'm going through all this. And then on March 9th, I bought it at $91. I bought SoFi for $10.99, cheaper. Palantir, $88.37. And then I got to April 10th. I bought it for $91 again on April 10th. And I want to see if there's any more. And the reason why I'm sharing this is SoFi, $12. AMD, $99.48. And so a lot of this stuff, and then by June 11th, AMD was up at 121. Okay, so a lot of people will say they don't know when to get into the market. And then when they get in, they want to wait, and then they don't want to buy. And then what happens is the stock price goes up, and they still don't want to buy because they want to wait for it to come back to where it was. So think about, in my perspective, it was up at 113. And I bought it, but then it went down to 91 or 96, whatever it was. And then it started to go back up. And then here comes June 11th. And I decided to buy it again, and it was at 121. And one of the big factors is that during this time, I was talking to one of my friends, actually one of my close friends whose brother works for AMD. And I had been saying, like, look, I see what's happening with AI. I've been looking at the guidance. I've been looking at the forward PE. I've been looking at the sentiment around it. I like what Lisa Su's doing with everything. I had been recognizing things with the chips that they're coming out with. I've been hearing them talk about it at these different conventions. Sam Altman talked about the MI400 series and MI355 and all of these different things around the actual company. And so to me, the entire time, similar to my analysis, which is a little bit more risky with SoFi, but the entire time I was like, I'm going to purchase all the way up to $200. Okay, I want to go the whole way up. And the reason being is that if I have the cash to deploy and I'm sitting there and yes, looking back, had I bought everything. So if I have 700 shares, right? Let's just play this easy game. If I have 700 shares of AMD and I would have purchased everything when the stock was at $90 and it had gone all the way down to like $79. Had I purchased everything just at $90, okay, I'd be initially around like a $61,000 investment. Okay, so around a $62,000 investment. Now, that would be If that was at $90, this is simple math. I need the simple math. If it would have been at that $90 investment, and right now it's at 180, I'd be at $123,300. Okay, and I can look at my AMD currently is up like $40,000+, which is freaking wild, dude. It's absolutely insane. But now, if we look back, okay, my profit would have been just from that initial investment, 61K into the stock. My initial investment would be up 61,650. Okay, so we're seeing 2 times gains. 90 times 2 is 180, right? Because that's where we're at right now. And so where I'm going with this is that instead of saying, man, I should have bought at 113, I should have just put all my money in at 90. That would be if everything was perfect. But I would kill to right now buy at 140. I would kill to buy at 160. I was buying 5-6 a week ago at 160, 170, and now it's at 180. And I think that that's the big lesson here is that how can we think through this and how can we make effective thought processes? Because at the end of every single month, my wife and I, we try to meet and we go through our assets and we look at what our value is. We look at all of our properties. We look at our cash. We look at, we break the things down into ETF, stocks, crypto, cash, properties. Okay. And then we're looking at what we're making, what we're bringing in, what are we expending, what are we spending, what type of investments do we have coming up. And so when we look at this and I can say, okay, I have this much cash that I can deploy over the next 6 months, I want to set standards of where I will take AMD, okay, with investments. And I'll go all the way up there no matter what, knowing and thinking that personally I have this projection of where I think it will be in 3 to 5 years. Okay, same thing with SoFi, same thing with ELF, same thing with Nike, same thing with Google. We just put out that video on Google and I mentioned like, dude, it's cheap. It's really, really cheap. I don't care if Google goes to 200. I don't care if it goes to 220. I'm still going to buy it because I think in the next 3 to 4 years, we're going to see this thing really start to roll. And so that's the big lesson here is that, yes, it sucks that I didn't buy everything when it was down at $80 for AMD. But guess what? I'm still going to get a good return. It's the same thing if we're looking at all of these other investments. We have to look through this and say, if every single week we're recognizing where something is going based off of 3 to 4 very specific metrics, we understand the company, we understand the leadership, we understand the industry and the market that that company is in, we can make educated decisions. And this isn't even something that you need to be doing. You guys, if you're just getting into investing, just start with a high yield savings, or just start, which is not investing, just start with ETFs. Okay, you put money into VOO, you put money into SCHD, and you just go hands off, and every single month you put it in there. And basically what ends up happening is that for me, I have a very specific breakdown percentage wise when I'm looking at cash, crypto, stocks, and ETFs. When I take stocks out, or when I take cash out, I have another breakdown based off of stocks, ETFs, and crypto. Okay, and then when I add in real estate, that's finally like an entire method that we look at the portfolio. But it comes back to understanding how to recognize industries, understanding how to recognize the space that a company might be in, knowing what those 3 to 4 key metrics are, knowing what the leadership is like, knowing what the potential growth is that could be happening, and then also knowing if there's any other outside factors like the Iran bombing, could that have an impact? Like anything along trade, okay, with the trade discussions and tariffs, is there any impact that we're going to see here? Is there any impact on any of this stuff that's outside of the company's control? And in all reality, when you're looking at the U.S. market, in the last decade, there's been 6 or 7 huge things that could have had a massive negative impact on the market. And the U.S. market still continues to thrive. You look at COVID, okay? You look at the bullwhip action from dishing out money, but also the cutting of rates rapidly. You look at the Iran bombing, you look at the tariff discussion, and what that's done, and you still see these companies. And so I did a video on like the Epstein economic effect, but you see all these things that are external effects, and it doesn't impede long-term growth no matter what, because these companies are led by really, really intelligent, motivated people. They've got really good strategies. They've got really good products. They've got really good value, and they know how to continue rolling with that. And so really the whole point here is that if you just get in, it doesn't matter when, just make sure you're doing some sense of research, and you can start simple. Start with those ETFs, and then over time, start to learn some of these other factors to help you on that investing journey. I hope this helps somebody out there. Peace.